Thank you, Zimbabwe, for tuning into yet another informative edition of your program. This is Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, and I am Wadzanai Manyore. So this is a platform which is specifically created for our farming community here in Zimbabwe and the various stakeholders that participate in the agricultural industry as we pave way towards achieving Vision 2030 as a country. Now, if you look at statistics, it shows that 67% of our population makes a living out of agriculture. They repay their debts, they make their livelihoods are based on agriculture. And as such, in this particular episode, we are going to be talking of a pertinent issue in agriculture, an issue that has been topical over the past few months and years of foliar fertilizers. I know most of our Zimbabwean farmers are going to be taking notes, so stay tuned. To discuss this and more in this episode, I've taken the liberty of inviting Mr. Zivanai Gonzo. He is an agronomist at Zimbabwe Fertilizer Company here in Zimbabwe. Mr. Gonzo, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Wadzanai.
Yes. As I've alluded to earlier, we are going to be talking of foliar fertilizer. It is a topic of interest to many farmers, including myself. I want to know, what is foliar fertilizer, the science behind it?
Okay, Wadza, thanks for the question. If a foliar fertilizer is any fertilizer material, that is applied on the foliage of your crop. Okay. By foliage, I mean on the leaves. Okay. So any fertilizer material that you can spray on the leaves is a foliar fertilizer. And the foliar fertilizers may come in two different forms. They can be liquids. Okay. They can also come in form of granular, products, or even pre-rolled. You know what? If you apply your ammonium nitrate on the leaves,
directly on the leaves,
yes, or urea, it becomes a foliar fertilizer. Okay. Under such circumstances. Okay. Yes, so any fertilizer material that you apply on the leaves is a foliar fertilizer.
Thank you so much, yes. Mr. Gonzo. Moving right along, what could have possibly inspired the production of foliar fertilizer, given that you are in the fertilizer industry, production industry, you've been there for a while. We are used to our traditional fertilizers, the granular ones. But now you come in with the foliar fertilizers. What could be the science behind it? What is it going to address in our cropping systems, given that we are talking of issues to do with production, productivity? What are your sentiments on that?
Okay, yeah, thanks for the question. Foliar fertilizers are very important when it comes to fertilization or crop nutrition, aspects, because there are some advantages that they may carry over our conventional fertilizers. So I'll give you situations when foliar fertilizers can come in handy. Okay. Yes. So number one, we normally apply foliar fertilizers during times of peak demand. Okay. For example, we are in a greenhouse, and this is a good crop of tomato. When your crop is establishing, there is high requirement for phosphorus. Okay. For root development. You see, so that period, we may come in with a foliar fertilizer like Quick Start that we come in and spray to supplement the conventional fertilizers that we would have applied in the soil. Okay. That's one example of where foliar fertilizers can be used during peak demands. Another example is when this crop is growing vegetatively. It has got a high requirement for nitrogen. We may come in again with another foliar fertilizer to supplement the nitrogen. Okay. And as it starts to produce flowers and fruit, it starts to have a high requirement for K2O, which is your potash. So we may come again with foliar fertilizers that contain high levels of potash. Okay. To supplement the conventional fertilizers. Another important point is that you may invoke the use of foliar fertilizers when the soil conditions are not conducive for uptake of nutrients through the roots. Mm-hmm. I'll give an example. When, like this year, we received quite a lot of rains, and most areas ended up being affected by waterlogging. Under such situations, your roots are no longer able to, to take up nutrients from the soil. Also, under such conditions, there's a lot of leaching that takes place.
Yes.
Yeah, so you need to help your conventional fertilizers.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gonzo. As we round off this segment, I understand that you the effect of foliar fertilizers acting as supplements. In cases of excessive rainfalls, in cases of leaching. Moving right along, I want us to talk about the nutritional compositions of these fertilizers. I understand that some of these nutrients cannot be, accessed in foliar fertilizers in large quantities.
Correct.
Yeah, other than in our granular fertilizers. So what is the nutritional composition of the foliar fertilizers?
Before I touch on that, let me just give you a brief summary of how nutrients are classified.
Yes.
Our essential nutrients, we call them essential nutrients. They are classified into three major categories. We have your primary nutrients. Those are needed in very large quantities. And examples are your nitrogen, your phosphorus, your potash, that we talk about every day.
Yes.
But did you know that we also have nutrients like your carbon, your hydrogen, and your oxygen? But we don't talk about those because they are in abundance, in the atmosphere and in the soil.
Yes.
So after your primary nutrients, we go to secondary nutrients. They are needed in relatively large amounts, but not as much as you would need on primary. These are your magnesium, your calcium, and sulfur.
Yes.
They are secondary nutrients. Then we go to the last group, which is your micronutrients or trace elements.
Yes.
These ones are needed in very small quantities. Like you may need a kg per hectare for a particular nutrient. So depending on the situation or circumstances, all of the nutrients that I have talked about can be applied as foliar fertilizers, depending on what you want to achieve.
Okay.
You remember I said you can even apply your AN
directly on the leaves.
Yes, as a foliar fertilizer. You can apply your urea. So the primary nutrients can also be applied as foliar fertilizers. The secondary nutrients can be applied as foliar fertilizers as well as the trace elements.
Okay.
So depending on the situation.
Okay.
If you want to apply trace elements, they are foliar fertilizers that are made specifically for that.
We are talking of inorganic fertilizers. We will come back and talk about organic fertilizers. On that note, viewers, we're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the second segment. Stay tuned. Welcome back, viewers. You are watching Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness. We are discussing foliar fertilizers. I understand that this is of interest to most of our Zimbabwean farmers. Now, Zimbabwe, we encourage you to be a part of these conversations. Feel free to get in touch with me, the producer, Wadzanai Manyore, on 0772 807506. Alternatively, you can like our Facebook page, Agribusiness with Wadzanai. We are also now available on Twitter, and our Twitter handle there is at Agribusiness110. Leave your comments and suggestions on our YouTube channel, Agribusiness with Wadzanai. Today, I'm with Mr. Zianai Gonzo. He is an agronomist at Zimbabwe Fertilizer Company. He is taking us through the nitty-gritties of foliar fertilizers. He's demystifying foliar fertilizers and its actions and its benefits on our Zimbabwean cropping activities. Mr. Gonzo, earlier on, before we went to the break, you were talking of inorganic fertilizers, inorganic foliar fertilizers. I would like us to talk about the organic foliar fertilizers. What are they and what do they represent?
Okay, thank you, Waza, for the question. When we talk of organic, we are talking of something that is derived from living organisms.
Okay.
Yeah, so it could be either the living organism itself, or it could be extracts from living organisms, and they also come in different forms, and they can be applied as foliar fertilizer as well, as we apply our inorganic fertilizers. Okay. So they normally contain compounds like your amino acids. They can form part of organic, fertilizers. Your fulvic acids, your kelp, even your microbes, your bacteria or fungi. You can actually spray fungi. You can actually spray, something that is that has got some bacteria in it.
Okay.
Yeah, those are organic compounds. You see, so they do not supply your elements that we talked about,
Okay.
but they are there to, they affect different physiological, processes that happen, inside your leaves, inside your crop, resulting in increased yields, resulting in better quality produce.
Okay.
So I was just giving you the differences that are there between the organic and the inorganic foliar fertilizers.
Okay.
Yes, as long as they are sprayed onto the foliage, they are foliar fertilizers.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gonzo. Now coming to the pertinent issue that I know most of our Zimbabwean farmers want to know. I want us to demystify the misconceptions about foliar fertilizers. Some of our Zimbabwean farmers or the farming community might perceive them as a magic wand. Say, if I use foliar fertilizer, I'm going to ignore the granular ones, the traditional ones. Or they say, if I apply the organic fertilizer. As we are standing in here, some might look at it and say, oh, this tomato crop has developed to these stages because of organic foliar fertilizers. I want us to demystify the misconceptions. There's been a lot of talk around these foliar fertilizers.
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Wadza. Wadza, something that you apply on the foliage cannot replace conventional fertilizers.
Okay.
That's impossible. If you are talking of yield and quality of your produce, they are not able to meet total plant requirements, especially when we are talking of your primary nutrients, the ones that I said they are needed in very large quantities, your nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash. You can never apply enough of those through the leaf. Okay. It's impossible. Okay. So I want to give you a simple example. This is a greenhouse tomato.
Yes.
Yeah. For you to produce about 250, you can go up to 250 tons per hectare.
Okay.
Or even 300
tons per hectare. Of tomatoes.
Of tomatoes. If you want to produce such volumes of yield, you need to nourish your crop. Okay? So when we are talking in terms of your primary nutrients, your nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash, we are saying you will need about 450 to about 500 kgs of nitrogen.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Right. In terms of phosphorus, we are talking of around 250 kgs. And your potash, we are talking of 700 to 800 kgs of potash that you need to apply for you to achieve 250 to 300 kgs, tons per hectare of this particular crop. Okay. So if you talk of 800 kgs, it's not a joke. Suppose you are applying, let's say 1 liter is equal to 1 kg.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. 1 liter is equal to 1 kg. For you to apply 1 kg and you need 800 kgs of those, how many times would you need to come and spray?
Okay.
You are coming in 800 times.
Just before it even affects the leaves themselves.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll go there. You need to apply 800 times.
Yes.
That's that's potash alone. How about the 500 kgs of nitrogen? How many times do you need to come in and spray the nitrogen? 500 times. So it's not possible. I'll give you another example of potato. For you to produce just 1 ton of tubers, you will need 5 kgs of nitrogen. You will need 4 kgs of phosphorus and 9 kgs of potash just to produce 1 ton of tuber. And people talk about 60, 70, 80 tons of potatoes per hectare. So you'll need to multiply the rates by whatever, number of tons that you'd want to achieve.
Yes.
So you surely you can't give your crop what it needs in terms of your primary nutrients through the leaves.
Okay.
It's not possible. It's not possible. And you know what you end up doing, because people come and say, no, I applied it this year and I had a good yield. But you don't know that you are actually depleting your soil resources. You're actually, we call it nutrient mining.
Okay.
Yeah, you're actually mining.
You're extracting nutrients from the soil.
From the soil, because you're not adding anything. Yeah, you're not adding anything to your soil. So you're actually extracting all the resources that are in your soil. You cannot do it for 2-3 consecutive seasons. Okay. Because your soil is empty.
It's exhausted.
It's exhausted. It has nothing left in it. You see? So we are saying, no. For your primary nutrients, your nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, come in with your conventional fertilizers. Then use your foliar fertilizers as supplements. Okay. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Gonzo. I've actually learned a lot. You took me back to the periodic table from our A level. I understand that the youth who are watching this are taking notes. Now we have come to the end of this segment, but I want you to touch on the application intervals or periods, because in some instances we are told, farmers are being told that you apply after 14 days, after every 14 days, come back with your fertilizer, with your inorganic or organic foliar fertilizer, and you'll be applying. What are the intervals roughly that you made approximately say to our viewers, our audience there?
Okay. We are not hard and fast regarding interval of applying the foliar fertilizers, but it depends on what you want to achieve. Okay. So if you are using them properly for the purposes intended for them, to be used, we normally recommend our farmers to come in after 7 days. That's a week, or even 2 weeks. Okay. Yeah. Not every day, because it becomes costly. If you are spraying every day, it becomes very, difficult and costly for your farm operations. Okay. So a week or 2 weeks, I think, will suffice.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Gonzo. On that note, viewers, we're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the third and final segment. Stay tuned. Thank you, Zimbabwe, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness. I am here today with Mr. Zivanai Gonzo. He's an agronomist at Zimbabwe Fertilizer Company, and we are talking of foliar fertilizers. We are seeking to demystify the misconceptions about foliar fertilizers. Now we are in the third and final segment, where we are going to be talking about the science behind it. Mr. Gonzo, what is the science? How does the foliar fertilizer work? Because we have our conventional fertilizers. They are applied next to the roots, next to the bottom of the plant. But now we are talking of applying these fertilizers directly on the leaves. What is the science behind it?
Okay. With a foliar fertilizer, you are applying it on the leaves. You may even apply it targeting the fruits.
Okay.
Yes.
Directly on the tomato fruit.
On the fruit. Yeah,
okay.
You can. And it can also be absorbed even by the stem. Okay, so when you are applying your product on the leaves, this leaf has got the outer part of it. It's called the cuticle.
Okay.
Yeah, the outer part of the leaf.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is a layer on top of it?
Oh, yes, on top of this leaf.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called the cuticle.
The cuticle.
Yes. So if you apply your foliar fertilizer, it penetrates the cuticle.
Okay.
Okay. It penetrates the cuticle. There are also what we call, the openings on the leaf.
The pores is the stomata.
The stomata. Yeah.
You're taking me back to
Yes,
biology.
the stomata also.
Yes.
They also play a very important role when it comes to absorption of these foliar fertilizers. And on the stems and your fruit, there are also openings there that are called lenticels.
Okay.
Yeah, they help in taking, in the fertilizer product.
Okay.
Yes, once it's taken in, it's absorbed, and they are metabolized. In other words, the leaf is the kitchen.
Yes, that's where the food is developed and
manufactured.
Yes.
So it's correct to say that they are quick in terms of response, because you are applying them on site.
Yes, where they are manufactured, where the food is manufactured.
Is manufactured, and there's no energy that is needed to translocate them from the roots
up the stem.
So they give you your results quickly.
Okay.
Yes.
So is it true that when our farmers saying, up and about, I've heard farmers saying, when you apply your foliar fertilizer, come back in 2 to 3 days, you'll see your whole food is green?
Yeah, it could be possible.
Okay,
yes,
it's quite possible.
It's quite possible, depending on the foliar fertilizer you would have applied.
Okay.
Yeah, it depends.
Now I like what you have said, and it's going to lead us to our next question. You have said depending on the type of fertilizer that you have used, you might get desired results.
Yes.
Now let us talk about the importance of Zimbabwean farmers, our farming community, of acquiring chemicals and inputs and fertilizers from reputable sources. We've had issues in the past where some chemicals are smuggled from countries like Zambia, some chemicals are smuggled from certain countries, or some people developing their chemicals and selling them to farmers. The importance of getting your inputs from a reputable source or organization.
Yes, yeah. I want to encourage our farmers to partner with the registered, suppliers like us.
Okay.
Come to us. We offer after-sales service.
Yes.
We offer, product support. You won't find that when you buy your product
from the street.
From the street. you buy today, tomorrow you come, you won't find the vendor. They've been chased away, or they've changed, their position.
Yes.
So it's important for farmers to partner with registered suppliers. And also, there's a lot of fake product on the street, a lot of counterfeit product on the street. So if you come to registered suppliers or distributors, you are guaranteed, of expert, service.
Yes.
Yes, and you get your original products.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Gonzo. As we round off our episode, it was a very informative episode, a rich episode, where I'm sure most of our Zimbabwean farmers who are taking notes have grasped a thing or two. Your recommendations, your word of advice to our farming community.
Yes, Wadza. We have been talking about trace elements, foliar fertilizers, conventional fertilizers, and what have you. But the most important thing surrounding crop nutrition is your soil.
Very true.
Yes. Do you understand the status of your soil? Do you know it? You may end up applying the wrong fertilizer.
Yes.
The wrong foliar fertilizer after all. So it's important for a farmer to be intimate with their soil. Yes, be intimate with your soil. Know the status of your soil. What is lacking in your soil, so that you know what fertilizer decisions to make.
Okay.
So that's the most important aspect when we are talking of soil health. Wadza.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Gonzo. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you, Wadza.
There you heard it, viewers. In the words of Mr. Gonzo, he's an agronomist at the Zimbabwe Fertilizer Company. He was telling us you should have an intimate relationship with your soil. Your soil, you should understand it. Understand the status of your soil. From me, Wadzanai Manyore, I'm also on Instagram. It's a W Manyore. And Daniel Muranganwa. Have yourselves a fabulous evening. Thank you for watching.